What's up, guys? Welcome back to Cody's channel here at southeastsoftwash.com. Today, we're going to be talking about the small business fatal funnel. There's a lot of things that guys do right when they get into business and they're tripping their way along, which is normal. But there's a few things that they can do wrong that can cause some problems and cause you a lot of heartache, lose you some money. Look, he's starting a business, losing a little bit of money. That is the most normal thing in the world. We can't even count how much money we've lost in our path of going where we've gone. But today I got my boy Cody Yarbrough right here. Codog, what's up, my man?
I can't call it. If you hear this clicking, oh, look, we had fire that time. I'm trying to light a cigar. So that's what the incessant clicking. Shout out to Mike Turman from a really cool desktop lighter right there. I'm going to get this as a Southeast Softwash stogie. Not bad either.
So, talking about like fatal funnels, I know you wanted to start off giving these guys an idea of what an OODA loop is. Guys in the tactical world know what that is, but I want to preface this with Cody's got to explain to you what an OODA loop, OODA, what is that and why you don't get caught in it too long, because it'll cost you a bunch of money.
Yeah, it will. So if you're at all, if there's a law enforcement guy watching, he's probably heard of this, knows what it is. But it comes from a Air Force pilot guy. And he was like the dude. His last name, I think, was Boyd, and really good tactician strategy kind of dude. So he came up with this thing called the OODA loop. And if you live in that world, you know that you'll hear about it. But I wanted to segue it over today and talk about that with business. Now, some of you guys may have heard of, there's another guy who was a colonel, and he came up with the condition white, condition green. What has it go? Green, white, yellow, red. It's just a walking around, being aware of things. So this is similar, but it's a little bit different. And what it stands for, OODA, it stands for observe, orient, decide, and act. And we talk about that as far as law enforcement or military stuff, anything like that is being, we call it running through your unlock codes, because you can see if you're around a guy and you're on the range, if you've ever done simunitions training, you'll really see this come out, because learning to go and shoot on the flat range, that's fine. We're just going to assume that you already know how to do that. If you're here, you should know how to basically hit the A zone or the 10 ring from a few feet away. Example of recent is the Secret Service guy that found a homie out there at the Trump golf course, missed him, I think 5 or 6 shots from a grand total of 5 feet away. So first of all, we got to get that down pat, right? And when we're talking about business, we're going to assume here that you've got the fundamentals. So we're past that point. You got the fundamentals, but now we'll put you in some situations and see what these guys do. And I love watching those YouTube channels where, have you ever seen them where they're in a shoot half and they're up here elevated, and they'll have women, they'll have civilians can take these classes and they're shooting real guns, but they got sim rounds in them, and they'll run them through a hallway, and you don't know what the scenario, you may not need to cap nobody. That could be the right answer, because most of the time that is the right answer, 99% of the time. So it gives you that little bit of the I don't know what's going on factor. And that's really what we want to drive home in this video today, guys. It's like observe, orient, decide, and act. You can see that both in that world and in the business world. The more you run through these scenarios, the quicker you get at running through those unlock codes. What you don't want to do is, the worst thing is get caught in that fatal funnel that it's like an infinite loop. People call it the bystander effect, right? You've heard of that, the bystander effect. So give me an example of the bystander effect while I puff this cigar.
My favorite one, we've talked about it, is where you can watch these various videos on YouTube where a shooting starts and people, they just freeze. They just stand there and they almost, I don't know, they almost can't, their mind can't believe that it's happening. They're caught in an OODA loop. They're a deer in the headlights, right? They just stop. And inevitably that can lead to death of you, or in that situation, or the business in the situation we're talking about.
So that's exactly right. You have to, number one, observe. Okay. So what does that mean? It means one thing to my boy Murphy, right? he observes in a different way. It means something else to a guy that's not squared away or has never been exposed to that or hasn't stress inoculated himself. He hasn't done a bunch of traffic stops and stuff where he gets the jitters out and he actually sees what's going on. So when we talk about observing in business, guys, let me give you let me dispel some myths. Okay. If you're brand new to business and this is the year we're recording this in January, today's the 7th, right? So this is what happens every year. In the first year, everybody goes on a diet. They want to start a business. They do all this great and wonderful stuff. What you think you're observing today on day 0 or day 1 or day 20, right, is not what you're going to see at the 3-year game. You're going to see the world and the playing field completely differently than you see it today. You're going to see your allies differently. Who is an ally? Who is not? Your market, what your services. Don't get too romantic about any of this, because what I'm telling you is your vision, your observation point, the first O, will absolutely change in the first 3 to 5 years 100 times.
Oh yeah.
You don't even know what were you doing 5 years ago compared to what you're doing. You couldn't have dreamed it up, right? Like you can't. When you're looking, this is what we see guys do a lot. And this is going to segue into what we're going to pitch you here. Got it scrolling at the bottom of the screen. We got a Serious Starter event. This is the kind of stuff we talk about at the Serious Starter Bootcamp weekend. So the next one's coming up February 21 and 22. We haven't done one in a few months. We don't really do one during the wintertime. So we've already sold out half this class and we haven't even mentioned it. This is the first time we're talking about it. So if you want to come, you better go grab you a ticket. We have never not sold a Serious Starter event out, and we'll be doing 2 full days of training. So getting that out of the way, what we see at even people that are dedicated enough to come to a boot camp weekend, the number one reason that most of those people don't make it, right? And a lot of those people do crush because they've got their mindset right. But there's a majority and a vast majority of just a general, I want to start a business people. They get stuck at the first roadblock.
Yeah.
They're observing and they think that they're observing, but they're really just starry-eyed, like 1,000-yard stare, and they don't even really see it, which could be a really good reason to come to an event like that. You get some clarity. So it's okay if that's where you're at. Just understand that we've talked about
That's
it.
a big part of the OODA loop, right? He's aware of maybe the clutter that he's causing in his own mind, the mental drama. We've talked about this. It's like one of my favorite OODA loop or mind clutter bystander effects is the guy who's obsessed about getting a logo made. Bro, let me tell you. First off, you don't have a brand to destroy. So go get you one made, make it yourself. Okay. Some of the best logos look like hell. All right. Some of the most memorable logos, I'm going to tell you, they're the simplest logos ever. And you can change it as many times as you want. If you're in this OODA loop right now, let me explain to you. This is just one, but guys get stuck in that. They get stuck in obsessing. Oh, who can I get design it? When this guy didn't, I've had it redesigned 4 times. I'm like, bro, just roll with the first one. Let's go clean some stuff. And in year 2, we'll change the logo. Nobody cares.
And it's in this world of pressure washing, this is what happens. You really, I guess the first level of observe is you're working your job and you observe that sucks. So you got that's your first observation. And then you go into all life is really a series of OODA loops on top of each other. You move on and then you go to the forums and you get discombobulated by 1 million things to look at, right? We do want to look at it. All right, look at it. But then you got to move to step 2. You don't want to die like at home plate, right? We would like to at least get to first base.
That's right. That's right. We got to swing.
You got to take a swing. So look at it, but don't get stuck right there. The second, and I think this is the most important of the 4 kind of steps here, is orient. Orient really means and these two, they bleed together as you go through these. It really means to understand what you're looking at, to orient, to pivot yourself towards that target, right? If I'm here, if I'm at Chipotle or the LaGrange Small, that's what we call the mall. If I hear pop, I'm going to say that's either fireworks or that is handgun rounds. And so we're going to do some things now. We're going to move towards we're going to get off the X. We're going to move towards an exit. But orienting yourself properly this is a very crucial part of it. What will happen to you? It's just the nature of human nature and trying to do something hard that you've never done. It's very hard it is extremely hard to reorient your life. I think Aaron's got probably one of the most compelling reorientation stories from years gone by where you were forced to reorient. And some of these guys, you talk about this, I want you to hit on it here. It's both a blessing and a curse, and it's usually more of a curse because they have the luxury of orienting when they want to. Talk about that.
Yeah, I'll be honest, it's hardened me a little bit in my age and going through some of the divorce and child custody stuff. Like back in 2017, for the brand new guys on the channel, that's what happened to me. I went through about 6 years of a child custody for my son and a divorce. And it all, my dad told me something. He goes, you can either spiral upward or you can spiral downward. He said, Aaron, most men spiral downward, and they spiral into alcoholism or they spiral into drugs. He says, so those are your choices. You get to either allow it to beat you, or you get to orient the boat upward and you get to climb to better, higher ground. And gave me some clarity, helped me turn the turret to making money and getting my mind off of these dumb little things that I would obsess over that was really just the fear of orientation. It wasn't your mind knows some of this, like your logo. It's like, bro, if you can get one made, you can get two made.
Yep.
You already know, you just buy another one, but you like to obsess about it because you fear starting. And so you create roadblocks and rationalize these roadblocks saying, I have to get this done before I can begin. I have to get this done. Cody, with my story, it's like none of that matters. Like you can't even fake it anymore because guess what? You got to go to court next week and you got a $10,000 retainer that you got to pay. So you can't even bullshit. It doesn't matter. You don't have any money coming in. You got $500 to your name. You're living in your van at the gym because they can let you bathe there. So you can't even fake it to yourself anymore. And once you understand and that mechanism clicks and you actually find out that you were faking it and you were postponing orientation just for circle jerking, mental masturbation, trying to be a perfectionist. A lot of guys, that's how they rationalize their lack of orientation. It's just fear.
What happen is you'll do that for 10 years.
Yep.
And in the second section, it's really the baseline fight or flight. But what you're doing is you're trying to drag out the fight or flight options. And we see a lot of guys do that, man. And they'll dick around with it just enough to tell themselves that I'm working on it. I'm working. That's how you get a small town like this one I live in, that all the buildings are falling in. It is amazing to me. If you drive 40 miles south, you get to Auburn, Alabama, and we'll go down there and go out to eat at a restaurant. And we'll go a month later. I'm like, damn, they built a whole damn strip mall here. And you try to do that in Roanoke, it's 18 months. Well, it's the same humans. It's because they're just getting ready to do. And that's what'll happen to you. You'll get caught in that orientation. So you want to shit or get off the pot. Either go back and clock your ass in and just keep doing that. That's fine. But if you're going to do it, don't drag it out, because you got to realize that you're wasting time and you're wasting money of not being productive. It's better to ship it and then work on it than it is to get it. Perfect's the enemy of good. You'll never be perfect. You got to get something moving.
What do they do every time they release a new Lamborghini, like the new 2026 Lamborghini? What do they do at that event that everyone says ooh and ah about? What's the motion they do? They pull a black sheet off the top of this new car, right?
Ooh.
And everybody takes photos, and it's the new concept. It's the new model. The problem is in our lives with going through school, where you were punished pretty heavily down to eligibility in football. If you couldn't memorize a bunch of facts and regurgitate them onto a sheet of paper on Friday, Okay. So Friday was the big reveal.
Right.
Friday, pull the sheet off. What did you do? Does anyone say ooh ah to a C plus? Not really. So they based your self-esteem off of that grade and your ability to regurgitate. And what it did was it trained a lot of us to be perfectionists, and it trained us to plan our lives. And inevitably, you're not born because they've conditioned you to be an employee. So what you're doing right now is off of the planning. Okay. But they planned you to be an employee. So you're used to the big reveal. Hey, look at me. That's not how entrepreneurship works.
No.
No, every day is like you chop and then you like look at the tree and you and you look at the tree and you chop. You're wanting to chop the whole tree down with a dull axe and then be like, look at this tree. No, that's not how it works. You have to take action. You got to chop. You got to orient. You got to look. And you're not punished by having the wrong answer right now. You
Right.
don't have to know everything right now. You just have to go make a sale. You could have no logo, no website. Look, all the cardinal sins that I talk about, that all the things you should have. Yeah, that is true. But what means more than all of that is you going and washing something today and not overthinking it. Some of you might even not even use bleach. I don't care. Go clean the place. We never used bleach when I was growing up. 10 years old, I just cleaned the hell out of this thing.
You don't know
They
because you're
You
trying to
lose
orient it, right? You see there's an opportunity, but it's so mystical. And I'm telling you, the only way through the mist is to just row. It's just go that.
man.
You,
That's what we call.
you don't know. You just got to chop. Like it's part of it.
We
So-
working the
so-
hell out of that Gerber machete, boy.
Yeah, blisters. They came out with them Gerber machetes with that rubber handle. We thought we had something. We were like, you can't tell me shit.
You can't tell me shit, boy.
Number
Oh.
one, observe. Number two, orient yourself. You're starting to make moves towards pivoting. But then number three, you already hit on it because these, like I said, they naturally segue into each other. It is to decide. To decide means to kill off all other options. That's that CIDE suffix, right? Side, to kill off everything else. You don't have to do this. You can start a business and keep your day job. This is a way to do it. If you've got a day job and you can grow over time and do the slow handoff, that's fine. But I think 90% of our audience needs to be cautious of that methodology because it is easy and natural to divert back to a parachute plan. And I didn't have a parachute plan. I quit and made it work. And I'm not saying that's for everybody, but it was definitely for me because it made me decide. There was a definite line of demarcation where we burned the ships and there was no going back. And so you had to make it work. So that could look like, I know this is going to sound like a sales pitch, but it's pulling the trigger on some equipment. You drop some money and you get that equipment. Now you painted yourself in a way, not really, but in your mind from day one, you think it's like when I bought this building, it was 200 grand or whatever. Now that ain't shit. That's like walking around money. But, oh man, we got to get all this done and get to, it ain't. But it's good that you put your brain there because, okay, now I painted myself into a corner on purpose so that I have to come out swinging.
Right. A $200,000 mortgage or whatever is a roof cleaning a month. But people, they feel this fictional weight. It's like, bro, I could walk around the parking lot, find $1,000. You just give me a Jaime and I'll walk around for a little bit. I'll bring you back some money. You know,
it's hard because I know that now and we've done, we're headed towards $100 million in sales. That's a few years on the horizon there. So I know that now, and I try to I don't get involved in the sales process here with our sales team, but I listen in and I hear the guys, I read the transcripts of the calls and stuff. And I wish I could give those guys what I know now because they're freaking out about a $9,800 super mini. I'm like, bro, it's 11 days of piddly ass kind of house watching. But I know from where they stand because I remember it ain't that been that long ago.
it's scary.
It's
Yeah.
scary. It's still scary. It's just more zeros and commas. So
Right.
I get it. It's the same fear, but at some point, there is no other way. You're going to have to invest in yourself, in some training. That's why a small way to do it would be to buy a course or come take an event. If you're naturally wired that way, you're lucky because you'll taking a risk and being not so risk averse. If it's naturally in your bloodstream, you may have another problem where, you take too many bets, right? Most of us, we're very risk averse. If you're raised in the South or the Midwest, you're our people, damn it. What inside of Cracker Barrel, the layout's all the same. If that's you, I'm just telling you, we were all brought up, I feel like, the same way blue collar folks. We're real risk averse.
Yeah.
You
Oh,
see
yeah.
that?
Oh, bro, I'm gonna tell you, I never heard about any other way of investing but a mutual fund. See, he said you need to get you some CDs and mutual fund. And I had a great uncle, Uncle Harold, God rest his soul. He tell me about this mutual fund he got back in the 40s. And now he was like living off of this mutual fund. And that's all I knew. I didn't know about moving fast and observing, orienting, and deciding quickly, right? And have an idea and having self-esteem, right? And believing in it's weird to say, believing in yourself enough that you can go out and make, I don't know, 10 grand to go pay for a super mini. What we know now, it's, bro, you can mess around, pay those off. And with washes, like just
one of my favorite TV shows the last few years was Undercover Billionaire.
Yeah.
In season 1 and then season 2, they brought some dumbass women in there. I'm not saying all women, hashtag believe all dumbasses women, but I'm just saying it was a good show. I did actually like the blonde chick that built the business. They're trying to, I didn't like the second season, guys. Go watch it. The first season had a guy named Glenn Stearns. He's an insurance billionaire. They drop him off in a town, give him $100 in an old truck, and sure as shit, he built $1 million business in 90 days. No contacts, no network. I don't think he made it. I think they evaluated the business at 800 grand, but he got sick in there. They just showed season 2 had Cardone, and then it had two women. And I didn't like the chicks because it was forced. It was like definitely a DEI producer was like, we have to have a woman of color in here. And some lady was like, if it had just been an organic pick, it would have been entertaining. But I skipped through all that shit and got to Cardone because that's the only one I wanted to watch. He was like, man, he took the $100 bill and just threw it away. I'm going 0, babe.
Gas trash, man.
They valued it like $3 million, regardless of what you think about Grant Cardone. But what he was showing is this OODA loop process. It works. He had to bet on himself because he didn't have a choice. Glenn Stearns, the same thing. I wish they'd have kept the show going. But observe, orient, decide, and then that last step is to act. And that's really where it comes down to it. Now, look, guys, I'm gonna tell you something. If you're thinking about starting a pressure washing business, it feels like a big endeavor to you, and it is relative to where you're at today, possibly. But I'm gonna tell you, it's not. It's a fairly safe bet. If all you're trying to do is say, hey, I want to experiment with this business, there's a couple other YouTube channels I watch where guys are in just the general service contractor space, and they mentor lots of different fields. If you were to lay out all of the options you have, from lawn care, landscaping, HVAC, plumbing, electrical, like all the service businesses that you could build, I think that you would be hard pressed to find something you can get into easier, that's not as saturated as some of the other ones, that it has the margins that we have, and it's not something you got to get certified and licensed to do, right? You can get in it. Most of the things that are easy to get in, they're really little margin because there's 10 million guys. It's like cutting grass, right? And pressure washing, what we do is hits right in that sweet spot where there is some barriers, and it feels like it's a big enough speed bump to keep some of the crowd out, but it's a great opportunity. And if you can't get into washing and at least make your money back and test it, you're probably just not really cut out to do any kind of business. And that's okay too. You may take a year of your life in your 20s or 30s or 40s, and you say, you know what, I'm going to kick my own ass if I don't just try.
Yeah.
You know what you can do if it don't work out? You can go back to the damn job. Like, it'll be there. They'll be
worst case scenario. You're living it, man. You know the roadmap back here, right? You know how to do this, whatever you're doing right now, how to go apply, sit in the interview, get a job, There's always been, dude, apparently there were no jobs back when I was growing up. There's apparently no job now. Still working. Okay. It's just, yeah. So
Always a drag.
it's all, we always needed this rain. We always needed it. I think now we crave this uh, observe, orient, decide, act. We crave this as you go. The only way to gain self-esteem is sadly too broad of a term, but I just don't have anything that's more distinct. Confidence, maybe that fills that void. But once you bet on yourself and you get a win, what you get out of that nugget of self-esteem, if it was a Lego, man, it is almost worth more than anything your job ever gave you. It's like a piece of gold because you did it, because you believed in yourself and in you and only you. And you went out and created it. And now what you can do with that piece of gold is you can multiply it. Because at your job, you never get any gold because you're never having to stick your neck out. You're never having to grow. You're never having to learn anything new. You're never having to take a course or put your money on the line, right? And make a bet finally on you, right? Finally in this life, you bet on yourself. You said you were going to do it for so many years. You said you wanted to leave this job. You're tired of people breathing down your neck, tired of making no money. What does John Addison say? Too much month at the end of the money. And you do this, and I'll tell you who you will become will be worth more than any money. You make a lot of money. You'll make more than probably what you're making at your job right now for sure. If you just follow the steps that we teach, we've got plenty of success stories, plenty of reviews of guys who've done it, come to the event, gotten some of the courses and just applied and stuck close to us. There's a lot of guys who stick really close to us, Ketchow, Turman, some of these guys they're always within the vicinity. They're always tapping in. They're always keeping their finger on the pulse. And it's not necessarily because we're always just dropping gems all the time. Yeah, that does happen because of the experience that we have, but it's really because of an energy. You want to be around people who are moving forward. And that's what this event really is. Whenever you go to an event, say you come to this serious starter event, guys, you're going to think that you have a plan of something that you're going to get. And if you come with that question, we'll for sure answer that question. Okay. But that is not the most important thing that you're going to get. You actually can't even plan the most important thing you're going to get. You're going to walk away with something completely intangible. This is what happens to me every time I pay for an event or something special or I spend a bunch of money. I always learn something that I never even thought of. And I come away with it and I'm like, holy shit, that is complete spin, complete different angle. And that makes me more money than the measly little thing I went there to get.
Irony of it is we're all placing bets every day anyway.
That's
So
right.
if you're in the clock in, clock out world, and that's what you've done, that's what your dad did, and that's a way to do it. And you can beat that. That's okay. I'm not telling you that everybody got to start a damn business. I'm just saying, if you're watching this channel, you're probably interested in this or you wouldn't be watching. So you're placing a bet every day. It's just a smaller bet.
That's right.
You get up, you go in, you do your job, and then there's politics. And you can't move up because of politics, or maybe you do move up and then you're looked at different, right? Then you hit a new ceiling, or you're the mechanic guys, where I was always the shop guys, mechanic guys, right? Then there's this internal hierarchy. If you're in a big company, fuck them guys, they don't do shit. Or then you got day shift versus night shift. So what you're doing is you're placing little bets. And then you look up one day and you've been at this job for 26 years and you've hated every minute of it, and you had a commute and you feel disenfranchised, right? You see this in the world. It's like people rooting for Luigi Mangione because they feel disenfranchised. They're not mad at the CEOs and the successful people, really. They're really mad at themselves because they don't have the confidence to just place one big bet and make it work. They'd rather die by 1,000 little cuts because your day-to-day life's pretty manageable with little bets. You still live normally. When you take that entrepreneur, that fat stack out of that back pocket, or my granddaddy, Papa walked around about $15,000 in that bib overall pocket on that Liberty. Papa rich as shit. You take that big wad and you put it down and you place a big bet. See, what happens that day is your daily life just changed for about 3 to 5 years at least.
Yeah.
I'm basically retired now, but I'm telling you, I died on the trail 6 times to get here. That's great now. All right. If I could know now what I'm not would have put the damn, I might not would have done it. But what internally is, it's going to be hard if I place this bet and lose. And it's also going to be hard if I place this bet and win.
Yeah.
That's what, so it's just easier to default back to a little bet every day. Cause I got to give benefits. Hell, I got 3 weeks off down there. And look, the masses are going to go that way.
Yeah.
So it will be that for many people. Many there be that go in there at, okay. But straight is the gate, narrow is the way that leadeth unto entrepreneurship everlasting. If you be, find it. Here, like, you see, if you don't have a mural of yourself holding a kicker office, then you ain't there yet. I'm going to encourage you to place. Just realize you're placing one anyway. So maybe this is the year that you decide to just place one for your damn self. I didn't feel like this. I didn't really feel like this, but I know guys that feel like this, that I worked closely with a couple of them back in the day, and they would never buy anything for themselves. Their whole life was about their family and their kids, and they would take some pride in that. They would debase themselves. They never had new clothes. They drove the shittiest car out of the family and all that stuff. And look, I would not drive a better vehicle than put my wife in a piece of shit car. I wouldn't do that. But they would get to about 40, and you could tell they were starting to realize they went from being a little kid to a teenager, and it's like they immediately went to being a mule for they were always a mule for somebody else. It takes money to raise a family for sure. So I got to do my dad due diligence, but fuck it. If there's a way I can do it and do it for me too, and make more money, then I'm going to place that bet. That's what I'm going to do.
Absolutely. Yeah. I don't know what it would be like to even, I haven't worked a job since I was 15 at Smoothie King, man. I think I made my final smoothie and I was drinking it as I walked out the door. I probably consumed more than I made the company. Because I was 15, I was working out a lot. I was like, I'll be able to get protein for just four. Yeah, you think you're gonna work it off? They give you free pizza if you work there. Yeah, they do.
Like our guys, we got a dozen employees. They're paid very well. See, my job is to tell you guys to bet on yourself. When why don't your employees do that? Because my job here to them is most of my guys ain't wired that way, just naturally, but I pay them so well that the calculus is really hard. They don't have a reason to, but that ain't where most people, this building, hand on the Bible, we pay way better than any other location in this county and a couple of counties around us. Way better. I'm talking about $7, $8, $9 an hour better. And so again, the world has to have employees, right? Everybody can't be an entrepreneur.
That's right.
But if you have a shitty job and you don't like it and you hate going to work, then that is the universe telling you something. You have observed now a phenomenon that you hate it. Now your options are to drown that out, bystander effect, or you can observe, orient, decide, and then act on it. Guys, if you come to the Serious Starter event, bring a notebook, bring a clear mind, because we're going to dump a lot of info. We're going to give you the tactical methodologies. We're going to talk some mindset stuff. We're going to give you the cheat codes. There are some cheat codes. There's some damn cheat codes. But at the end of the day, when you leave, when your ass pull out this gate out here on that Saturday afternoon and we throw deuces, you get back home, it's going to be up to you to act. You can get all the information in the world. And if you don't go home and act on it, it's going to be right back where you started from. You're going to lose that bet. Don't lose the bet. Come hang out with us at the Serious Starter event. That's all. That's the OODA loop, man. That's the
OODA loop, man. Orient yourself, baby. Decide. We made a lot of decisions for 2025. Cody and myself got some new stuff we're going to be releasing here early in the year. Can't really tell y'all much about it. We're about to break the internet again on these fools too, baby. Here we go. I'll see y'all there.
Peace out.